Good morning from the South Kaibab trail at the Grand Canyon. So it's 5 a.m. Keith and Mike getting ready for another hike. It's almost sunrise, trying to get out ahead of the mule train. So today we are going to do South Kaibab trail, 7.5 miles down to Phantom Ranch, and then 10 miles up to Bright Angel. So you actually cannot drive to this trailhead. My wife dropped us off about a half mile down the road, add another half mile to the hike, so I guess it'll be a 17.5 mile hike. So we're gonna begin heading down the Kaibab and look for a great sunrise. We've just started our hike down the trailhead. This is one of my favorite parts of the trail because it goes back and forth. Looks like we're already behind the mule train. They must have already got a start because the apples are fresh. Fresh apples. So this part of the trail has switchbacks back and forth, back and forth. And it's really amazing because you descend very quickly. You're up 1,000 feet first mile or so. So we've made the initial switchbacks, which are behind us, working our way up to the top. And now it just goes along this ridge out to Uwa Point, and hopefully we'll get there before the sunrise. This is the sign warning us not to do what we're about to do, not to go all the way to the bottom and the top. But the sun is just starting to rise. I see the sun hitting the canyon across the way. Beautiful morning. We're coming into Cedar Ridge, 1.5 miles down. It's a good place to take the backpack off, stretch your legs. The mule trains can stop here. And they also have bathrooms if you are so inclined. Shot of the river, still probably an hour and a half, a couple thousand feet down. Can hear it from this distance, but it's still a long way away. I'm about 4.5 miles down, coming up to the next checkpoint, well ahead of schedule, which is great. Last time we were down here, they were repairing the roof to the bathroom, and they were bringing in supplies by helicopter. So as we enter the tip-off, we have about 3 miles to go down to Phantom Ranch, and that'll be 7.6 miles from the gate going into Yaqui Point. It's 7 o'clock, and I wanted to be down to Phantom Ranch by 8:20, so if we can average 3 miles an hour, which we've been doing, we'll get in there about 20 minutes ahead of schedule. This section, called the Tip-Off, joins the Tonto Trail, or crosses the Tonto Trail. It comes from the east, runs parallel, and becomes Tonto West and heads that way. A few miles down the road you get to Indian Gardens, and that's the shortcut to get there. We will get there after we get to Phantom Ranch and work our way 5 miles up Bright Angel. Well, our second view of the river. It's getting noisier and getting a lot closer. This concludes the going downhill portion of the day. We've descended over 4,500 feet and everything else is either flat or uphill. What goes down must go up. So we're going to go to Phantom Ranch, take our packs off, have lunch, and begin the climbing. Mules that passed us, they spent the night here. So this is coming into Phantom Ranch. This is one of the houses that the Rangers live in. This over here is the showers that we used when we stayed here at New Year's, and we got an amazing cabin right over here. The men's shower's on one side and the women's is on the other, and this was our cabin right here. Lucky number 4. Now we're walking into downtown Phantom Ranch where the canteen is. So we've arrived right on time, 8 o'clock. Our goal was to be here at 8:20 after a 5 a.m. start, and 7.7 miles. So we've had our lunch at Phantom Ranch, pretty busy place. Mailed a postcard, ready to go again. Time to climb. As we hike out of Phantom Ranch, trying not to step in the apples on the road, way off in the distance you can see South Rim. When we're here New Year's, that was all covered in snow up there. Only about 5,000 feet and 10 miles away. So we came down South Kaibab on the Black Bridge. Now we're going to go up Bright Angel across the Silver Bridge. Silver Bridge also carries the Trans Canyon pipeline, and that provides all the water for South Rim of Grand Canyon National Park and the town of Tucson. And you can see it right here under the bridge. Alright, we started our day in the pine-covered mountains, and now we're in Malibu. We got beaches, we got palm trees.
And we got water.
Sand is kind of tough to walk through when you already got 8 miles on your feet. As it gets hotter up here, that water down there looks so refreshing. Colorado River is very cold water. as it comes from underneath the dam at Lake Powell, Glen Canyon Dam. So even when it's 120 degrees here, you can still get hypothermia. But that's all we'll see of the river now as we begin our hike back up to South Rim.
Mr. Mike, Mr. Adventurous. He's gonna keep these arm warmers wet. Trying to cool himself down. Got a little waterfall. Oh, he's gonna put it around his neck. Ooh, that water's gotta be cold.
Across this creek the last time, and now we're about to begin Devil's Corkscrew, one of the steepest parts of our climb, still about 2 miles from Indian Gardens, so we'll get up on a plateau after we do this climb. Well, we made it up Devil's Corkscrew.
Just barely.
We did fine. So we'll just go up here around this corner and continue on to Indian Gardens. Started the day shivering before sunrise, and now out here in the sun it's pretty toasty, even though the high is only going to be in the 80s. Better than the hundreds they originally forecasted. So we came from way down there through the riverbed, back and forth through Devil's Corkscrew, and now we'll go along the ridge here. Another view of Devil's Corkscrew started there where the trail crosses a creek bed, works its way all the way over that point, and then around to here. And there's Keith, still smiling, that's good. So earlier in the video I pointed out the Tonto Trail that runs parallel to the river, crosses South Kaibab at the tip-off, and I mentioned it came over to Indian Gardens. Here's where it comes through, and there's a sign for Indian Gardens, so we're almost to our last big resting area before we do the 5 miles out. We're arriving now in Indian Gardens. It's a nice oasis, lots of shade, lots of water, and it'll start getting cooler as we begin to increase our elevation, as we're only about 5 miles away from the finish. Up here on the left is one of the pump houses that gets the water from the North Rim down to Phantom Ranch, and it has to do the 5,000 foot climb up to the North Rim for the park, and the whole town of Tucson is supplied by this one pipeline. Pretty interesting system, as the ranger was telling us down below that it's about 30 years past its prime, so they got to come up with the money to renovate it, otherwise the town of Tucson won't have any water. Caught the mule train. Everybody stopped for lunch here. Got lucky, our favorite picnic table in the shade is empty. All those people were sitting out in the sun, and yet it's empty. Looks about the same as it did at New Year's, except someone turned the table around. I was surprised this was empty, so we're gonna enjoy it here for a half hour. Finished our lunch in Indian Gardens. It's 11 o'clock. Feel like we made a lot of progress, but looking up, we can see that the rim is still way up there. So besides Devil's Corkscrew, yes, we've done some climbing, but we haven't done the difficult part, because it goes for about 3 miles straight up, switchback after switchback. Well, we're a mile and a half now since Indian Gardens. We're really climbing now and making progress. About 2.5 miles to go. Try not to look up, because it seems like no matter how much we climb, the top is still way off in the distance. More than a mile to go, but we're coming up to one of 2 tunnels. A lot of people remember from the top that there's a tunnel right near the top, so they see this and they think they're almost there. However, not quite. So this is the second tunnel I mentioned that you can see from the top, and this trail is now getting pretty busy with day hikers. Earlier in the day we were on a trail that nobody was on. Now A lot of people coming here for the first time, trying their hand at going down the trail a little bit. One gentleman about a mile back asked me how far it is to the bottom. I told him 10 miles, and he seemed very unhappily surprised by that. After 17 miles to see the Kolb Studios and the end of our day. So that's Kaibab and Bright Angel, all in one day. 17.6 miles.